So what made you guys choose Carleton University versus going to, let's say, Ottawa or University of Laval or like McGill? Why Carleton?
Well, we did not really have a choice because we were from France, and we have like our school in France has a partnership with Carleton. We had other partnerships in Canada, but for me personally, Carleton was like the best choice because it's English spoken, which is what I really wanted. The other school was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I was hoping to go in a school in a big city, if I may say. Yeah. So Ottawa was our best shot.
And if I can just add, we actually wanted Concordia in Montreal, but in the end they took out the option 3 days before we could submit our options. So Ottawa was our second choice, but it was the second best we could get.
Yes. Elizabeth would have definitely been taken, but there's like a high selection maybe for Concordia, and I was not the best ranked. You?
What has been the biggest shock to you guys coming from like France to Canada? What do you think?
Cold. Definitely cold.
No, how people are. Because, so sorry, maybe you want to expand on cold?
Actually, you are, yeah.
So we, as like non-Canadian people, always see Canadian people as being super nice, super friendly. They go towards other people, which is true, but I feel like it's true in a superficial way maybe. Like it's not criticizing Canadian people. It's just that I feel like as students, international students, we've had a lot of trouble making friends and meeting new people, and we tried to speak to Canadian people, and it just seems as though maybe it's just Ottawa, but they all have other friends outside of school, and so they don't need us, or they don't need new friends, and so they don't.
Really?
Yeah, we barely met any Canadian people, and when we try and speak to them, they're nice on like a superficial way, like in class we can laugh and stuff, but if we want to send them messages or ask to go and have a drink or something, I feel like I'm bothering them, so I feel bad, so I don't talk to them.
Like we have been here since September, and we are middle of March, and I can say that I have like became friends with like two girls.
Two girls.
Two girls. That's all.
And that's our common friends.
Yeah, and other than that, like we've met other French people who are also in exchange, and I feel like in 2 days we've had deeper conversation with them, and maybe there's a little bit of like the language barrier that doesn't help, but.
Well, even the Quebec French is very different.
Yeah. Yes.
It's very.
And we haven't even met any Quebecois people that we could have become friends. And we are really trying. We're not, staying in our corner, not doing anything. We try to go to parties. We try to propose activities with these people, and it just always seems as if they have something better to do, which maybe they had, but feels like maybe some excuses sometimes.
I think I agree to a certain extent. I think it's happening like worldwide. We're getting to an age and everything seems to be so fake, because I think we're living this fake dream on like social media. Everything you see, like that's how you see it with all the influencers and all the streaming. It's gotten really, really bad. So what's life in France like? How would you, for example, like approach someone? How would you like go on a date or something? How would you make friends?
That's easy. In France we would just like, hey, do you want to grab a beer after class? And we would just go at a bar, like even a Monday or a
we don't wait until weekends to go out.
And also our bars are way more crowded than here.
I think you call it patio season here.
Yeah.
And we have that all year round. Like in winter, since it doesn't get below -3 maximum, big maximum.
Yeah, that's the
like people still go and have a beer outside, and so. Like, if I, for example, meet you tomorrow, I'm going to say, oh, do you want to go and grab a beer? My friends are going to come, so you can invite friends. And so your group of friends is going to come, my group of friends is going to come. And so we just have a big group of people at, like, having a beer.
And
everybody meets each other. And then you just, most of the time you have, like, parties at other people's places. You don't really, like, go to, like, bars and clubs. You do a lot, but... that when you have like deeper relations with people and deeper friendships, you go to like people's places more than outside.
Because I feel like it's worse like in China than it is here, but I think it's happening worldwide. It's got to a point where like I'm sure you've seen those streaming services where people like they just go online and like some girls I've seen this accounts, they go from 0 to like 5 million followers within like 2 months. They just completely blow up, and all these guys are claiming that this is like my girlfriend. I'm sure you've seen the decline. Like even the last few years, you see on major news outlets there are fewer people who are looking to like be in a relationship, going into dating, because everything has gotten so fake now. Is that same thing happening in Europe? Or people are just like, I'm studying, this is like my life. I just, I have this fake reality.
Good question. Really good question. I would not be able to say that it's the same.
I guess it is though. I guess
in a way yes, but in another way
it's not different. Not
in my like surroundings, I would say.
I feel like what you're saying about people not really wanting to commit to a relationship and getting more interested in situationships, as we call it today, that's more of a thing in Europe too. And in France, like you could, speak to someone for 2 months, sleep at their place nearly every day, and then just at one point just never talk to them again. That happens too. But I feel like it's very different because here I feel like the relationships seem more deep on like the surface, whereas in France it's more like it doesn't look that deep. So the attachment is different, basically.
Is there a term for it? Like here, what do you call it? Friends with benefits or no strings attached? Do you know what I mean? What's the French term? Is there a term?
Plan cul.
Plan cul is like when you just have sex with a person.
It came from like a butt style.
Yeah.
I hate this.
It's not very nice, but then you have like we use sex friends too. Like we say sex friends sometimes. And then we can there's also like different words. Un bail.
Okay.
Which is just a word to say like, he's the guy I'm seeing right now. Mon bail.
Okay. That's interesting. You said you lived in China, right?
No, I've been to China once, but I've never lived there. I've lived in Singapore.
Okay. Can you tell me, I'm just interested. You said your dad works for the like Qingdao, like Chinese beer company.
Oh no, he works for a company that has that is located, like the headquarters are located in Qingdao.
Okay.
It's called CCL Tech. It's like a tech company, so I'm sure you're not gonna know it. But
okay.
He really likes it.
Yeah, but in general, would you say you prefer life in France better than Canada, based on what you have seen so far?
Well, we went to Vancouver, which actually changed a bit my way of seeing Canada as a whole, because I guess that Ottawa is really maybe the exception, because we as like French people thought that a capital would be the place to be, where there's lots of things to do, all night long transports, things to do all night.
It's not very alive.
It's not like that. It's more like a silent and more like a family or residential town. But we went to Vancouver, which was really not like that. More like a student life, lots of things to do, lots of things to see, lots of things, like a mix of cultures. And I think that was really great. So I wouldn't say that I prefer life in France. I think it's really too different to compare, like to make a preference.
And also like we're kind of biased since like we're from France. Obviously I'm like missing my life in France, missing in like big brackets because it's not that true. But like I could see how people would like really enjoy living in Canada. But like the vision that I have from Ottawa, it's the best place to settle and have a family, but it's not where you want to be, where you're 20 and you're going to school and all the bars close at 2 and you're like, oh, in France we go clubbing at 2 and it closes at 6 or 7 depending. So but it's still like nice and it's really like beautiful in terms of like landscapes.
Oh yeah, it's very different from France.
Well, sorry, you're from Bordeaux, right? And where are you
I'm from Paris.
Oh, well, obviously it's a very big difference, right, between Paris and Bordeaux.
There is a big difference, but now there's a TGV, so like a very fast train that links Bordeaux to Paris in 2 hours instead of 6. And so a lot of Parisian people have come to Bordeaux, so now you can see a lot of like similar type of personalities in Bordeaux.
Yeah, I also met someone from Bordeaux when I was at Boston University. I was like, oh, that's cool. What are your chances? So actually, there was 2 of them, 2 French guys.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and they're on like they were going to school in I think North Carolina, and they're on their like track and field team. So I was having a chat with them. But right now, like in terms of the future, not just me in France and Canada, just everything in the world, wherever you end up in the future, what's your biggest concern in terms of like, are you worried that like you're not gonna be able to pay the bills, buy a car, like paying your student loans and just everything possibly, raising family? Like, what's your biggest concern?
Oh, that's a very hard question.
Well,
I don't think about it too much, but yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we pay in France. We pay our school like way cheaper than I think you guys. We're like 10,000 a year. Because we have an agreement between like our French school and this school here. We pay the same price Carleton than our school in French. So I'm not that worried about student loans. I think I would say I'm more worried about my personal happiness and finding like a job that suits me and suits what I want to do in life, which I don't know, and I'm not really like a business focused person. Like I'm in a business major. Like I would not see myself doing like finance, accounting, consulting, sometimes
sales.
Marketing or sales or supply chain. I'm like
basically everything in commerce. We don't really see.
Everything that I do, if I do that later, like in a company that's really boring, like I would hate myself and I would like not be happy in the daily life.
I agree. The world is so strange. One of the most the TED Talk videos, right? I think the most viewed one is there's an old video, the guy talking about how the school is destroying our creativity.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't even talk anymore. But like I met someone who was almost the same thing. Like when I was down in the States, I was in Memphis. I walked into this bar to get some food to watch the NBA All-Star game, and she said she actually has the bartender. She said she has a business degree, and I'm like, what happened? Did you drop out? She said, no, I was working like consulting firm, and she said she hated it. Yeah. She said I'd rather be a bartender and just like travel around. So
I think she's right. Yeah. I would rather do something like bartending or doing stuff that could make me feel like I'm doing something concrete than just being on my computer and like looking at some Excel files and every day.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find a job, for me at least, where I feel important and I feel like what I do has a positive impact. Not just, working for work for a cause and know that what you're doing is making life a bit better, because that's all we can do right now. Like little steps to make things better.
Yeah, it's so hard to find a balance, especially like in 2401. I'm looking at like the pandas, SQL, and Python. I'm like, what the hell? Like,
don't. We have trauma about this class.
Yeah, I know. I barely passed that class as well. That was terrible. Yeah, I was really concerned, especially during the final exam. Like I lost 15 minutes at the start because I could not zip the file. So what do you think is right now, like in the world, what do you think is the biggest issue we're facing?
Is it the Willow project?
Okay. Oh, I've never. Oh, you bring some interesting. You can pull your phone. Or like, what do you mean?
Can you give me my phone? It's in my bag. It's actually my roommate who, like yesterday, talked to me about it. It's a big project where basically the Willow project where Alaska has been sold for oil extraction, and basically
for the US.
Yeah. So basically, if we.
Oh, how come I haven't heard of this? I have to look it up.
It happened like yesterday or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've heard about it before, but people were just saying, like, if we sign this project, we sign, like, our death. Because it's, like, environmentally, like, it's, like, the biggest and worst thing that human can possibly do. And it was signed yesterday by Joe Biden. So, basically, it's just saying that we're all gonna, like, die of global warming. It's like, extracting tons and tons of oils daily. If you want to have, like, a...
Okay. I
think that's a very good.
Yeah, it's a decades-long drilling.
Yeah.
Venture in the national. It's in Alaska, I think.
Yeah. I was just gonna add on a more personal thing, because I know that's important, but since I focus more on what's happening today and less on what might happen, because that's too it's too easy to get scared and stuff. Whereas if you think about what's happening today, and think about it, like I always say, it's not time to worry yet, so that it helps me to just focus on what's happening. And so I think what's happening right now is inflation, and it's really hard to cope as a student who doesn't necessarily have a job, or even like people who have like part-time jobs. It's the prices of everything are too expensive now. Like even families in France, I know that in France it's a big issue. Like they had to there were shortages of electricity in France in
Yeah,
December, so most
because
people
the war
had,
in Ukraine, right?
yeah,
The
exactly.
sanctions. Yeah.
So most houses had to cut down electricity for like a day or for like 2 hours or something like that. And I feel like it's people don't feel it here, but we know it's happening for our families in France, and even we can see it. Like what we can buy with like a certain amount, like $100, doesn't buy you the same thing as it did, like for example, just in September. So I think that's the hardest thing for me today, is just feeling like the inflation and all the uncertainty about what can I buy. Like can I still, just buy like necessary stuff, or is it?
I totally agree 100%. And I think the worst part is, like, I showed you some of the sunshine lists I was scrolling through, and you can see their, like, past incomes for, like, the previous 10, 15, 20 years. And you can see the people who are really, really high up, how, like, they were able to keep up with inflation. Like, let's say, for example, last year they made 300,000, and if inflation is 10%, then they're up to 330,000. Right, and it's always, they're always, ahead of the game. But for a normal person, for example, if you just work at a grocery store, best case scenario, you get a 1% raise per year, right? And if the inflation is 10%, like, you can only do so much. Even the worst case scenario. Well, I don't know how they teach like World War history, like in Europe and stuff. Well, they teach it like extensively here as well, but I think most people just put it in the back of their mind. But if you remember, during the end of the World War One. This is after Treaty of Versailles, right? It was signed there. And the reason why things in Germany got so bad, like they were forced to pay, like adjusted for inflation today, it's around 1 trillion US dollars. And obviously the country was completely broke after losing the war. They had to reduce their military, like Hitler, he lost his job, right? And it got to the point where paper currency was worthless, because the only way they could pay the $1 trillion was to print insane amount of money. And I think it got to the point where $1 was like 4.3 trillion, like, German marks. And when people were getting paid on paydays, because back then there was no electronic banking, they used wheelbarrows to wheel the money out. And it was so bad, there were all these robberies. They would hijack these people, and they don't care about the money. They just dump out all the money to paper currency. They would steal the wheelbarrow. Yeah. It got to the point, like, where everything was based on commodities. That's how so many countries went bankrupt, like Zimbabwe, like Colombia, like Venezuela, because they got so broke, they started printing money, and the currency just completely crashed. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Sorry. Did you see what happened in the Silicon Valley? The Silicon Valley Bank just crashed.
I have to say, that was a surprise to me, because there was I'm sure there was warning signs. I just didn't follow.
Yeah, and so the impact is that, like, a lot of French banks just not sunk, but like their price just went down by a lot. I just saw it this morning, and it's really not good, because if that goes on, then people might, economic context is already tense enough, and I feel like this is really bad for us, because I'm not saying that we're going to have like a 2008 kind of thing happening again, but I know that if people are afraid, they're going to take their money out at the same time, which might cause like a major economic disaster.
Yeah.
So that's just like concerns that just happened in like the past 48 hours and that.
Just one last question. So let's say if you were a world leader, let's say, if you're elected to United Nations, like if you had a seat on the council, like if you could make some major global policy changes that could, shape our future for the better or maybe for the worse, what do you think you would change?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't have a lot of knowledge about like possible, solutions, so what might be controversial might not be the best solution, so I'll let Valentine start.
So it may be controversial, but I was going to talk about like installing global warning policies, because all of you guys were talking about is quite interesting, but if in a couple of years we're all going to die of like the earth burning, it doesn't matter if like there's inflation or everything, because we're all going to die. So, I mean, that's what I was...
You mean like Greta Thunberg? Is that her name? Like you're like on her team?
Coming back to the Willow project that I was talking about, like this project is literally like signing the death of all of us. Sorry, I feel like I'm being really cynical, but it's true. It's a project that's literally gonna like
destroy the planet.
Yeah, it's gonna be inside, yeah, it's gonna make us all like fire up or like implode, and inflation doesn't matter if we die. Everything, it doesn't matter if we're not able to preserve our planet, nothing matters. For me, at least. So, like I do not know yet what I would do, but I would install some policies to try and reduce the risk of global warming as much as possible, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I think I would, like green energies, really focus on that. I know that for now, a lot of people say, yeah, it's great, yeah, it's not great for a lot of reasons. I don't really know the reasons, but what I know is that in France, a lot of our electricity comes from like nuclear power plants. So I think that the issue today is that in France, a lot of those have issues or need fixing stuff, and so they're out of order, and so we have to go back to other like fossil, coal and other fossil type of things. And so I think that that is an issue. So just take a few years, fix everything up concerning the nuclear power plants, make them go work double kind of thing, and then I think that would already be better in terms of emissions. I think that would be a good start.
How important do you think it's to, in the future, to be like multilingual? I'm not talking about 2 or 3, to like learn as many languages as possible. Do you think that's more important than ever before, or no?
No. I don't think so, because we have like the national language, which is English, but I think like knowing how to speak a couple of languages is always an asset that you could have. I would say it's essential, but it's not like it's essential, I think. But most Canadians or Americans, they speak only English.
Yeah, most English-speaking people just speak English.
Because they
don't need to speak other.
Like Elizabeth, your case is different because you're half English, but
half British, half French.
But I'm like French, and if I was not able to speak English, I would not have the opportunity to be here. I would not be comfortable being here because like I wouldn't understand people. I would not understand like anything else. And I think that speaking multiple language also gives you like an adaptability in your life, in your way of life, that is essential. English speakers, like they have maybe a non-adaptability. I don't know if it makes sense. Like they are.
Yeah, they're in the comfort though zone of like being able to be understood by everyone and anyone in like the whole world.
Yeah, well, so they almost expect that. Like when they travel abroad, exactly. They're like, "How come you don't speak English?"
Exactly.
Like,
and what I do think is that, as she said, it's always an asset to speak different like languages. But I think what's a real asset is to understand the like cultural aspect of what the language you learn. Mm-hmm. So not just learn English, but learn the culture related to like the English language, or the culture related to a country you're going in. And I think that's really important, because when you learn the culture around Spanish, around Italian, around, I don't know, Peruvian, Mexican, whatever, I think that's really the added value. You can find it here, because just learning how to read a book or how to write like a sentence isn't enough. You have to be like, if you want it to be an added value for you, learn the culture too. And you can do that while learning the language.
Jumping on what you say, I think it gives you like an open-mindedness.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really unique, and like helps the world be a better place. But it helps
people understand one another more. And it helps people it pushes people to discover other things, other people, other cultures. Whereas when you only know one language, you kind of have this superiority complex, I guess, where you think that, like for example, English, because everyone can speak it, then I don't care about what other people do and what other people's cultures are. So I think it's really important to know.
Okay. Oh, that was very cool. Well, thank you guys so much.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing.